Well, if you're starting a family law practice and you're thinking about how to structure your billing between hourly or fixed fee, if you're thinking about what does your practice look like 4 months in, where do you want it to go in the future? Well, you're in the right place. This video is following attorney Tom Hartin on Long Island as he is starting his family law practice. Now, Tom is not just your typical family law attorney. He is a brilliant intellectual property attorney who's wanting to get out of that field and get into family law. So we are 7 months into following Tom as he's walking through this journey. My name is Jeff Hughes and I'm your host. I'm also the CEO and co-founder of Sterling Lawyers. We are a 25 plus family law firm doing over 15 million in revenue. And we're following attorney Tom Hartin as he is starting and building his family law practice on Long Island, New York. All right, Tom. So December just closed. We're sitting here. It's January the 9th. You've just finished your 4th month in practice of family law, that is. Tell us about the month.
Yeah, so December was my best month in terms of revenue received, but conversely, a slow month in terms of signing new clients. And I think that's kind of expected around the holiday season. We've talked about that even before it happened, so it wasn't a shock. And it's funny, actually, I only signed 3 clients in December, and they're all like small matters. But 2 of the 3 were signed on New Year's Eve. I think I was the only lawyer working.
Yeah.
Like literally people called and came in for the consult that same day and signed both.
Yeah. I used to be the only attorney in my whole firm that would do anything on a Saturday or the evening, but I was young and hungry, and that really worked for me because I was the only one available.
Yeah, that's good. I don't know. I'm finding that too. I'll get a call at 9:00 at night and I'm like, I got to answer it. Eventually, hopefully bring on some type of answering service that can do that for me. But yeah, I'm not there yet. But yeah, so up until December 30th, I had signed 1 client, and that was for a prenuptial agreement where I was not even the drafter. So that's like a pretty low fee case. And then, on New Year's Eve, signed 2 more, an uncontested divorce and then another prenuptial agreement. So I didn't sign any. Yeah, 3 cases in December, but all kind of lower cases. Cases I'm still happy to get. But obviously would prefer more contested divorce cases in family court, modification cases, stuff like that.
So for these 3 that you signed, did you do these on hourly or fixed fee?
As of right now, and here's something else we can talk about too. So I'm doing prenuptial agreements and uncontested divorces on flat fees. Mm-hmm. But contested divorces and family court stuff, I'm still doing on a retainer and hourly basis. And reason for that, I don't know. One, I haven't quite figured it out on my end yet. I need to speak with an ethics attorney, or I don't know who the proper person to speak to is. If when I get to that point that I'm like, all right, I want to start committing to flat fees, or at least even trying it mixed. Because from what I understand, you've explained this before, that in Wisconsin, and I don't know if this is the same in Illinois also, when you quote a fixed fee and that person signs the agreement, you've earned that fee. That fee can go into your operating account rather than into a trust account.
Well, you haven't earned it, but it can go in your business account. You haven't earned it till you finish the work. So you're allowed to put it in your business account. You have to refund it if the client wants to withdraw or something.
But yeah, theoretically you can use that. I don't know. So in New York, and I actually looked at the rules in New York and Illinois because I wanted to see, in Wisconsin, because I wanted to see was there a difference in the rules here, and there are. So it's in New York, they really still push hourly as the only accepted model, and I don't know of anyone doing contested divorces in New York on a flat fee.
I met an attorney recently, Tom. His name is Corey Shapiro. I think he's in Manhattan, if I'm not mistaken. And he reached out to me. We exchanged some communication, and I sent him over our agreements. And he did mention there was some difference in New York than what we had. So I'll connect you to Corey, and you guys can kind of trade notes, because I know he's thinking about the same thing you're thinking about.
Okay, yeah, I'd appreciate that. And so from what I could tell, I can quote someone a flat fee, but ethically, that flat fee has to go into my trust account, and I can only pull from that flat fee based on the time I've spent on the case. And so when I thought about that, if I finish the case for an amount that's below the flat fee, technically I have to refund that money to my client.
How do you determine if it's below your flat fee?
Well, I have to keep track of my hours.
Oh, so it's not really fixed fee. It's an hourly. Yeah. That's a retainer situation.
Exactly. And so I don't know, maybe this is where I need to And I think you mentioned that you met with, like when you first started, you met with people to make sure you were, playing by the rules and everything. So that's something that I need to do. But, as far as I could tell based on my research, it almost seems like quoting a flat fee is essential to having like a retainer that's capped on my end.
Yeah.
So it almost kind of hurts me in a way, as much as I don't know.
I've heard from other attorneys that the regulators in some states are mildly hostile to fixed fee, even though it's what the clients prefer and it makes sense. But so you may be in a state where there's some of that hostility toward it.
They almost loop like group flat fee in with like contingency billing, which makes no sense because they're completely different. Like obviously you would not allow contingency fee in a divorce case, right? If I get you custody, you're going to pay me 3 times the amount. No, like there are obvious policy reasons to not allow that. But I don't see why, rather than an hourly divorce, I'm going to say, all right, I'm going to get you a divorce and do the best I can, and you're going to pay me $12,000, rather than, paying me a retainer and I bill you hourly. So there's a question there. So that's why I'm still doing, anything contested or in family court, I'm doing that on, retainer and hourly basis.
That makes sense.
And again, not that I have a ton of those cases going on right now, but that is, that's how my retainer looks. Yeah, but that on the revenue end, I did have a backlog of some other things, mostly again, smaller, like prenuptial agreements and uncontested divorces that I got to work through in December because things were slower, in terms of like doing consults. And so I got to play a lot of catch up there. So that's why my revenue, top line revenue was just shy of 11,000. So good. That was my best revenue month so far of the 4 months.
That's good. So I noticed you had about 11 leads come through that turned into 7 consults. How would you characterize the quality of those consults?
A lot of those consults, I got the vibe that it was people who were thinking about proceeding in the new year. And maybe I'm wrong. It's just the vibe I picked up. Kind of like came in to like get some information, kind of start the process in their mind, but they weren't gonna file a summons and complaint against someone, a week before Christmas.
Right. That is the vibe. You get a lot of folks that are coming in December, getting information, kind of putting their plans together for the spring. We've also experienced 10 January, Februaries now. We have historically not picked up until about January 15th on.
Okay.
And it really hits a crescendo right about tax return time when folks start getting their tax returns.
Yeah, you've mentioned that, which is, I could see that. Money to spend. Like you said, 3 hires, but they were all pretty, small cases. But, one of them.
3 hires come in from the 7 consults, or were they previous months?
No, I think those were all from the 7.
Okay. So you had 3 out of 7. That's not bad. Because the other 4, you would expect 1 or 2 of them to filter back in at some point in the future.
Yeah, hope so. Marketing, as we always talk about, kind of stayed the same. And so a bottom line profit 6,600. Again, not breaking any massive barriers here, but good to see that that was my best month so far, and we're heading into a busy season, so expecting things to just keep going up from here. Hopefully, it's only the 4th month. I don't know. In my mind, it seems like I guess. Because I started building the website back in June and, doing stuff like that. But after myself, I didn't launch till mid to late August. That seems like so long ago, but it's only 4 months ago.
No, it's a short period of time. And you've got a high sense of urgency too, I want to point out. So if you're feeling this, like you need to get to start sprinting, that's a strength as well as a real potential problem for your patients.
Yeah, it's a problem. I could see that. But, it's a reality. I have a wife and 2 kids that I need to support.
Let's kind of pull back the curtain a little bit. I'd love to kind of dig into the psychology of where you're at and how you're thinking about your future. This is real important stuff. Like a lot of people are in your shoes thinking about this. You're thinking about your future. How are you imagining your practice growing from here? What's it looking like to you?
From inception, I wanted to build a firm because I want to grow it. Right. You have people who are solo attorneys and their goal is to stay a solo attorney. Or remain small. That was never my goal. As soon as I am able to hire my first associate, I plan on doing that, and I'm hoping that is sometime in the spring. Assuming that things pick up and I have enough cases that I can fill their docket with.
How many cases does that look like to you? Once you get to X cases, when do you start looking?
That's funny. That was a question that I was going to ask you. I think, I don't know. I'm an organized person. I think I'm starting to get my ducks in a row. So the person that does my taxes is actually, he's an accountant and an attorney. So I asked him when I was talking to him about my taxes the other day, does he work with and doing like employment agreements and stuff like that? And he does it all the time. It's on his website. So I'm going to meet with him probably sometime in the next couple weeks and just discuss, employment agreements and and he's an accountant too. So what, if I were to hire someone at X salary, how much am I actually paying that person? Is it an extra 30% and 35%, something like that, to provide them benefits and malpractice insurance and office space, all that stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know the answer to that yet, but I'll have it soon. And then, if I see things starting to pick up in February, I might even start formally interviewing or I don't know, just maybe getting to know more like associates in the area. I'd be upfront. I don't want to say like, oh, I'm interviewing because I have an opening now, but I don't know if there's a way I can reach out to people and be like, hey, I'm a growing firm, probably looking to bring someone on in the spring. Anyone looking to grab lunch or something, happy to take you out and get to know you and stuff like that. When things can pop within in a month, all of a sudden I go from slow or a little bit busy to being really busy where I'm like, I need to hire someone. So I'd love to, I don't know, have some people lined up where if that happens in April, like I can just pull the trigger.
I think you're going to get a more natural conversation if you don't tell them you're looking at hiring.
I completely agree. But how do I find these people who are potentially...
Hey, I'm a new attorney. I just started my practice. I'd love to meet other young up and coming attorneys. We're going to be practicing together a lot over the years. Can I meet you for coffee?
Yeah. Is that like a LinkedIn? I guess I'm trying to figure if it was an interview, I would just post something on Indeed or something like that. And that's an easy way to find people that are looking to potentially leave there.
Well, hello, Jeff here. My team and I put out a weekly newsletter designed for family law practitioners to help you grow and build your practice. So if you go to my website at jsterlinghughes.com, that's Hughes, it's jsterlinghughes.com, and subscribe. It would mean the world to me. And what I will do for you there is I will send you weekly content to help you build and grow your practice, as well as news and developments in the greater world of family law. Thank you, and back to the show. I think you want to find the people who aren't looking. I think those are better candidates. Yeah.
Why do you say that?
Oh, because usually they're happy where they're at, they're doing well, and they're probably successful in their practice. Those are the ones you want, not the ones who are struggling a lot of times. Now, some are looking for the right reasons, so that's not a universal, like, absolute, but I prefer looking for people who aren't looking.
Interesting. Okay.
It's not across the board, every single person, obviously, Tom, so you can't apply that and say, okay, every person looking and not looking, that sort of thing. But I just think you're going to get better candidate overall, on average. Yeah,
and I need to do some type of, I don't know, market analysis and see if I bring on someone with 3 years experience, what am I going to be paying them? Someone with 5 years experience, what am I going to be paying them? I've heard your struggles about when you switched to flat fee and you had some people who were great at your firm doing hourly, but then, they didn't mesh well with the flat fee system. So do I just be upfront with this person that could be a route I end up taking? Because I'd hate to hire someone in April, when we're just doing things hourly like they're used to, and then over the summer I'm like, okay, now we're going to fixed fee, and they're like, what? I don't want to do that. That's a waste of both of our times. So
yeah, that upfront conversation is important. I've discovered, I'll just add some experience here to this. I've discovered that you can have the conversation, you can explain what fixed fee looks like and feels like, and that may weed out a person or two, which is great. That's what you want, to weed them out. But it's really hard to understand until you're actually doing it, the mentality that it takes to succeed in fixed fee.
Yeah. I think my recommendation is going to be, this is something I'm considering. Here's a podcast that I recommend. Go listen to it and let me know if you're interested. No one explained it better than you as far as I've looked.
So you're thinking grow the firm out over the next few months and even start the process of looking for bringing on your first associate in a few months if things go exceptionally well.
Yeah, okay. I'd love to do that.
So from a caseload standpoint, let's say you're at 35 files. That's a good place to be, at least, to bring someone on if you're going to hopefully pass off a majority of that work to your new associate.
So here's where my situation is a little bit different. So typically if someone's a family lawyer, and they're looking to hire an associate, they need enough work to support a full docket for themselves and a full docket for that associate, or at least reasonably full, that they're not like taking a loss. So as you know, I have work that I can pick up elsewhere. I really only need to get to a point where I am reasonably certain that I can support an associate's caseload.
Okay. So for you, it's more of a question of lead flow than it is current cases. If you feel like your lead flow is current or consistent, your new hires are consistent, then you can bring someone on.
I think so. And then there's also the conversation to have with that person. How many cases at your firm can you bring over? If I have someone who, maybe is a fourth or fifth year associate and is going to require a little bit higher of a salary, but they tell me, I have 50 active cases and I think 20 of them would follow me over to a new firm. That makes the hiring decision a lot easier. And is that something that you see also?
Oh man, I'll be honest with you. I try to avoid that conversation with new hires. I try to expect them to bring nothing over.
Okay.
Now they will a lot of times, but I don't game plan that at all. I have brought people over that had full caseloads and brought some over had zero. And so I just felt like I don't like that. I don't like trying to plan that way.
Yeah, no, I that's a good point. And maybe I shouldn't bank on that. But yeah, and I guess, I don't know, it seemed like your question was, how many active cases do I need before I can bring someone on? I don't think it's as high as 35. I think, I don't know, maybe more like 20, 25 would be enough.
Yeah.
And assuming, like I said, the leads were still coming in where I was certain I'd be signing more within the next few months.
Well, I think the lead flow is more important than the cases at number, if that's how you're thinking about it, right?
Yeah.
If you're going to open up 5 to 8 files every single month consistently, it's an easy decision at that point.
Right. Yeah. But I guess, when do I know that number is consistent enough, right? If I'm picking up 5 to 8 cases in March and April, I'm like, okay, I'm going to hire someone. And then I get a summer slowdown, then I'm in trouble. I don't know. Maybe we can have a whole nother episode around hiring somebody, but because there's a lot to go into it. And I haven't, I'm really speaking off the cuff here. I've given it some thought, but I haven't really done too much of the math yet in terms of, how many cases I need to be coming in. And I don't know how much, if you ask me how much does someone with 3 years experience make in Nassau County, I don't think I could give you a number within like $30,000. It could be 100, could be 150. I don't know the answer to that question.
Yeah.
And do people?
James could probably answer that question for you.
Yeah, I think he probably could. And I know he's probably looking to hire people too, I think. Yeah, and do people are people interested in, what's the right word here, like performance-based, right? Where you get a 120K base salary, but you're going to get bonus, you're going to collect, you're going to get 35% of your collections, something like that. Again, I just completely made those numbers up, but
that's very typical, what you're describing there.
It is. See, I have no idea. So yeah, I don't know, maybe that'd be an idea for another episode after I've done some research in my market. I really have no idea. Yeah, overall, just going back to the original point, I definitely want to grow. I want to bring someone who has like trial experience and a lot of court experience, and just someone who's overall good with people and in that sweet spot where I don't need to train them too much, but that they're open to doing things a little bit differently.
Yeah. So have you given any more thought to positioning your practice in terms of being a first responder?
No, I really haven't. Since we last, I don't know, maybe I was in a little bit of a holiday mode too, and just kind of burning through work that was just sitting there for like a month.
Yeah.
No, I haven't. So it sounds like you're asking like in terms of my target client.
Yeah.
So I lied. Let me take that back. I did give it some thought. So I love the idea of marketing to first responders. I hit a hiccup there, one that I had not anticipated, one that I didn't even know about. So apparently a lot of like the unions, like firemen's union, police union, nurses union, they have family law firms that are like recommended by their union that I think they get discounts for. The attorneys work at like discounted rates in order for the unions to like funnel them cases.
Okay.
So I don't know, maybe the market there is not, as much as I love the idea, I need to do some more analysis there. Maybe the market isn't as big as I thought, or maybe there's a way for me to get onto that list of union recommended people.
Interesting. Yeah, our unions around here aren't so strong, so we don't.
New York is it's very pro union here, especially with the cops and firemen and nurses. Maybe nurses a little bit less, but cops and firemen definitely.
What you've kind of got anecdotal evidence on is that the unions have their own referral network, and so folks in the union go to those referrals. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, so that was a hiccup that I did not anticipate. But yeah, it doesn't defeat the idea. It just means I need to give it some more thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, see if there's a way around that.
Yeah.
That's not to say that everyone in the firefighters union has to go with their union, attorney. They're friends with the people in their firehouse. They if they're going to go through a divorce, they're probably talking to them about it. And other people have been through it, and they've used that union attorney, and maybe they're happy with them. So it's more of a matter of, it makes the marketing, I guess, a little bit more complex. Like, instead of just, hey, I like serving first responders, it's more of a why go with me rather than your union attorney, who clearly also likes working with first responders because they're your union.
Anything else from December?
No, I don't think so. Just, overall, it was a good revenue month, but I don't know, maybe call me a pessimist. I think it was not a great month overall because, my signings were really low. But again, and on the flip side, I anticipated that a bit based on our conversations and conversations with other people. So it's, hoping at least February things start really picking up.
Yeah. Do you have a budget that you've laid out for this quarter or for even January?
No. Just
cover your expenses.
Bring in more cases. That's my budget. Yeah.
I'm familiar with those budgets. Trust me.
Yeah. Well, it's as you start to grow, and when I hire somebody, a budget's going to be way more important. We've talked about, rather than budget, I'm kind of more focused on my number of active cases. So that's the number I'm tracking more closely in my mind.
So last question, Tom. We're 120 days into your practice. What's been the biggest surprise so far?
It has been a lot harder to get clients than I thought. I don't know. I need to refine my consult process. So there's a number of steps that come into right before you have a hired client. One of those is leads, and I'm not getting as many as I thought I'd be getting at this point.
Yeah.
On the consult end, I'm doing free consult. I don't know if I'm doing it wrong, but it's something that's bugging me. Is I feel there are a couple people that I've done not only a free consult, but like a follow-up free consult. And I'm hesitant to be like, no, I'm not gonna do that, because I want to bring people on. But at the same time, you almost get the vibe that our people, just scheduling follow-up free consults to get more information and then taking that back and either doing the case themselves or, bringing that information back to their other attorney and saying, why aren't we doing it this way? Yeah. And, especially for this follow-up consults, because I already have a lot of facts and like information on the person. I'm doing a lot of prep work too. To make sure that when they come in, I'm prepared with all the facts and have like a strategy about how I would approach it. Biggest surprise, it's hard. It's, I guess I'm not getting as many leads as I'd hoped. And even the leads that I'm getting, I guess I'm not converting as many as I'd like. So there's work to do on both sides of that process.
From the outside looking in, your consult rate, I think, is respectable. That's not a commentary on your lead rate. I don't have an opinion necessarily there, but in terms of those that are sitting down with you to hires, I think that you're respectable. You're in a good place there. It's not a gaping wound is what I'm saying. Your closing percentages are not.
Okay.
So now we can talk a lot about, charging for consults. There's a lot of wisdom to charging for consults. There's downsides and upsides to that. I think overall it's more of an upside, but definitely on second bites at the apple, charging for those, I think is important.
Yeah, I agree. In the future, paid consults will be the norm. But it's hard when you have 5 contested divorce cases and you want to triple that number. It's hard to say no to someone who's like, hey, I'm not happy with my current attorney. Can I come back?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. But I guess I could be better at being like, all right, you came back. Here's my retainer. This is where you sign.
Right.
I don't know. I need to get better at that. I'm not pushy, I guess, where I need to be a little bit more of that, I think. Not in like an aggressive salesy way, but I think you have to be a little bit.
Yeah, I get the sense you are, honestly, but I don't know. I'm not listening to any of your consults, so maybe we do that. Have you recorded your consults, by the way?
No, I haven't.
Oh man, that's a gold mine of opportunity. Record your consults. You're going to learn so much listening to yourself.
Do you ask your clients ahead of time?
Well, here in Wisconsin, we don't have to. So we don't here in Wisconsin, but we do in Illinois.
I actually weirdly get, I think, and I would need to double check this, I don't think I need to in New York either.
We don't ask. We just say, hey, we're recording this for notes. And we use it more for notes than listening to ourselves. So it really is for that. But that's how we do it.
Yeah, I should start doing that. And just kind of having more of like a script, as in like, here's my consults they're very conversational, which I think is nice. I think clients like that.
Yeah.
It would be good to have like a more like formalized process so that I can see, all right, this part isn't working. Let's try changing this up.
We use it now with AI tools. It's a really valuable tool because we use it to measure the amount of talking we're doing versus how much the client's doing. Because we're at scale, right? So we've got many people that are answering calls on intake or in consults. So we use it for that. We even are tinkering around right now with sentient analysis on their empathy levels and how empathetic they're coming across, especially on the intake side, because they're answering call after call after call all day. And there's a lot of compassion fatigue that sets in with them. There's a burnout rate that's really high. So that's a way for us to kind of understand where that's at. So there's a lot of value you get from recording your consults.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And listening to them, Tom, is super hard. Listening to your own consult, you just want to like,
Jeff, I can't listen. I can't listen to these podcast episodes because I can't listen to my own voice.
You're going to pick up so much.
Yeah, I know.
Your tone, your inflection, all of that matters.
But I was like so excited when we started doing this, and like tried to listen to the episode, and I was like, I can't listen to myself talk. I don't know if that's normal or if that's just like a problem I have with myself.
That's normal. We all hate our own voice because we don't know what it sounds like until we hear it recorded and play
Yeah. Yeah, and I say too much. I noticed that. Did you see that?
There you go. Well, if you do podcasts, you can edit a lot of that out. My mom, like one of the 3 people that listens to my podcast, she's like, Jeff, I don't hear you saying or fillers. I go, Mom, you realize we heavily edit the podcast? She's like, oh. So thank you, Mom, if you're listening to this. So, all right. Well,
and so I'm going to ask you one last question, just because this popped in my head about on the hiring end. My first hire, paralegal or associate? I see it, and I'll preface that by saying I would love for my first hire to be an associate. But is it going to be harder to bring someone on, an associate on, and say you might have to work without a paralegal for 6 months until we're busy enough that I could hire one?
Let me answer it this way. I think your first hire is probably someone who answers your phone.
But again, and
I think if your phone's ring, okay.
With my business being a little bit different in that pretty much all the family law work would go to the associate, I can answer the phone whenever.
Then in that case, I would probably hire the paralegal.
Yeah.
The paralegal can become a revenue generating teammate. They don't have to be.
Oh yeah, of course. But
if you're on fixed fee for your cases, you get a good paralegal. They can do most of the work.
Yeah, that's true. But again, I don't know. I guess in terms of growth and really wanting to bring someone on who can bring the legal side to the next level, I picture bringing on like an associate who can just pick up the cases and run with them. Whereas hiring a paralegal, I think, extends the time frame that I am doing the legal work rather than bringing on an associate who will do the legal work. If that makes sense.
That's a valid reason, Tom. There's personal interest here involved. This isn't like an absolute formula in every case.
Yeah, no, and I agree. I'm just, I guess, more asking the question, like, is bringing on an associate who's used to working with a paralegal, are they going to like...
If your motivation is I want to do less work right away, then do that. It's going to be, you have to push in different directions to make that happen.
Yeah.
So
and like I said before, just that's part of the being honest with the hiring process. Coming to a new firm, you're the first associate, which comes with a lot of benefits. I'm not going to micromanage you on the legal side whatsoever. I will manage you in terms of, are you getting reviews? Are you communicating with your clients? Stuff like that, stuff that I would, I'd be a little bit pushy on. But in terms of how you're running your cases on the legal side, there's a reason I want to hire someone with, many years of experience, just with the presumption that they know what they're doing.
Then your second hire is a VA, an international VA, virtual assistant. Okay. I love that model, and it is so beneficial.
Yeah, talk more about this next time after I've given this some thought.
Well, I love what you're thinking. So we'll reconvene next month and take a look at January. I'm excited. I want to see you beat that 10 grand mark.
Well, yeah, it's funny. You're focused on that. I'm more focused on I need to bring in more than three low-level cases.
Oh, of course, yeah. You got to bring in more cases to bring.
I'd much rather see a low revenue, but I signed 5 cases that month. So yeah, we'll see.
Cool.
Exciting stuff to look at. Thanks, Jeff.
See you in January.